I want to talk a little bit about social engineering tonight. I've been thinking about this a lot this weekend. It's been in the news a number of times this weekend, and it seems like social engineering stays at the top of the list of the number one ways that bad actors get into our systems, our environments. Why is that? Well, it's because social engineering is always going to work. And why is social engineering always going to work? Because it plays on two very basic human conditions. And those two conditions, if we tweak them just a little bit and redirect them, we can stop social engineering attacks in their tracks. What are the two traits? Well, they're two simple facts about us as a species that are being leveraged by bad actors to get us to do things that we shouldn't. The first one is really something we don't want to change about human nature, human behavior. We simply want to redirect it. And that's our desire to be helpful to other people. We want to help people out when we're presented with a problem that somebody else is experiencing that we have the power to solve. That's a good thing. But this situation, that bias towards helping people actually gets us in trouble. Is helping someone else a bad thing? No. Is it a weakness? Is it a weak point that is being leveraged by bad actors? Yes. We need to redirect that desire to help, and we need to put a container around it, and that is a container of trust, understanding, and verifying who it is we're helping. A caller who says there's someone we need to trust or help or care about is very different than someone who is actually a person that we know, trust, care about, and are able to help. How do we know the difference? We verify. And I'll get into verification in a minute, but one of the other things that we can think about is we also want to be helpful to our team, to our organization, to our leaders. Social engineers talk a great talk, but they're easy to trip up, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But I want you to think about flipping this idea of helping. Help your team by protecting them from social engineering attacks. Don't just immediately jump to helping this person that calls you and says, you got to help me right now. So what is reason two? I want to do that before we get into the how to kind of defang some of these attacks. Reason number two that they continue to work, quite honestly, is because we're full of ourselves. It's ego. We think we're so smart that we can tell when we're being conned. There's no need to ask somebody else if this line sounds too good to be true. We would know if it did, right? We would know if something makes zero sense. In fact, we're so smart that when someone tries to interfere with the actions that a social engineering victim is trying to take, they will often react with outright anger and indignation. Who are you to tell me that I don't know what I'm doing, right? Now, back to how we trip up a social engineering attack. Simply ask a few easy questions. Questions that your real coworkers, friends, relatives, business partners, trading partners, they would know the answers to. Let's say the CEO calls, right? Maybe that's normal that the CEO would call you personally. Maybe it's not. But when the CEO calls you and says that they need you to get them some gift cards, you can ask a simple question. Is there a reason that Rita can't get them for you again this time? She had such a fun time buying them last time. We should let her enjoy it this time too. Now here the attacker's got a couple of options. They could make up a reason that Rita can't buy them, which means they're caught because Rita's not a real person. You know that. Or they can say something about how they'd rather you got a turn this time and, share the fun, whatever. Also caught. Rita doesn't exist. The CEO would know that they don't have a personal assistant named Rita. Simple things. You need me to wire you money because my son's in the hospital and they urgently need care? Trip them up. Ask them a question that's not available on social media about a piece of information maybe that doesn't exist, right? It doesn't have any tattoos on their left arm. Ask what the one on their left arm says. They're going to have no idea. And they're either going to make something up or they're going to come up with something that's obviously a fake answer. So we hear about deepfakes all the time now. Looks like the real person, sounds like the real person. Very, very difficult to tell on the surface at a quick glance on a grainy internet call. They need you to wire money urgently to complete a deal. Hey, sure, no worries. By the way, Tim says we're on for next week. He wants to know if we want to use the new venue or the old venue. What should I tell him? Well, social engineer is going to do one of two things. They're going to say, let's use the new one. That sounds great. Or they're going to say, we're on for what? Remind me what that's about. But if Tim doesn't exist and there is no thing that we're on with, it's an easy way to trip them up. You see the trend? It's about understanding what someone who you actually do business with, who you actually know, asking them simple questions that they should know the answer to, or they should immediately call bullshit on. These are the kinds of things. These are going to knock your typical attacker down because they're not going to be prepared for information that's not in their list of things they've learned about you. So these curveballs, when you make them think on their feet, you turn the tables to your advantage. Because typically what a social engineer is doing is they're driving a conversation at a fast rate with high urgency and a sense of immediacy that keeps you on the back foot. You can flip that just by asking a question they're not prepared for. So simple questions. And here's a really important point. When we get into the things that people know, your trading partners, your family, your business associates, something they know that only they know, there's a concept it's actually really old school, that's becoming a really good idea again. And that is this idea of secret code words, an actual word or words that you exchange either in person or on a piece of paper. You've got them written down somewhere, but not digitally. You don't email them back and forth. You don't text them back and forth. You actually physically exchange a set of words or a word that you mutually agree is your secret word. So if your CEO has a secret word on file with the help desk, and then the help desk gets a frantic call from the CEO telling them that they urgently need a password reset or they need a new MFA device set up, the help desk personnel can very quickly say, sure, no problem, I can help you with that. I just need to follow security protocol to protect your company. What's your secret word, please? If they don't have it or they forgot it, then they don't get a reset. Then you say, okay, hold on one second. Let me put you on hold. I've got to verify your identity, an alternate method. I'll be right back on the line. And then you call, email, and internal message the CEO on trusted communication channels. So if they have a known email, a known phone number, a known internal messaging handle, those are the ways you try to contact. You don't call the number the caller gave you. You don't use the email they told you to use. You use the known good contact information. And this does a couple of different things. Because if you reach the CEO on one of these known good means, you know immediately that this is a scam, right? Because this caller told you they lost their phone. So why would they then answer on the phone? If you can't reach them, you've done a couple of things already. You've sweat the caller for a couple of minutes, which is going to get them, again, knock them off of their game. They may even just hang up. But you've also started a trail of communication internally, and you can reach out to other members of the organization and say, I'm trying to reach the CEO. I'm not hearing back. I've got a caller that says that they've lost their phone and they're in such and such a place, not able to come into the office and get a replacement. Is that accurate? And again, you just continue to widen your search net until you get a trusted entity who can verify the information that, yes, the CEO is in Switzerland and there's a reason they're calling. They don't know their code word, but here's a piece of personal information that they should be able to verify. It's about establishing offline means of authentication. So I could go on and on about this all night, and I won't. I just think it's so important that we understand that when it comes to giving out information or providing digital access or allowing access into a system or facility, don't be cocky. You can be fooled. I can be fooled. We can all be fooled. That's the reality that we live in the digital age. Until we all get up to speed on this, social engineering will always work. So we need to educate our teams and we need to help them understand the realities of the types of attacks that they're facing. Otherwise, social engineers will continue to succeed.